Coffee. Agile. Coffee. Agile. Coffee.
Welcome again to the Agile Coffee Podcast, episode 64.
64. Can you imagine that?
I know, they're piling up, aren't they?
They are piling it up.
Just like that old Beatles song, When I'm 64.
When I'm 64. Yeah. Maybe not, huh?
We won't go there.
Nah.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Larry Lawhead's with me today. Welcome,
Hello.
Larry.
Hello, Vic. Glad to be here.
I'm Vic Bonacci. You can find me on Twitter at Agile Coffee. And Larry, you are at Larry Lawhead?
Yeah, at Larry Lawhead at Twitter.
Makes it easy.
Makes it, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I haven't been as active on Twitter. That's something I need to change in this new year.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Me too. I think I got to learn how to do that stuff.
Do you have your book I just gave you?
I have a book. Yes, indeed, I have a book. Right here?
I just gave
Yes.
Larry the Twitter book.
The Twitter book.
Oh, we have an announcement to make for those of you who are listening to us on your favorite podcasting platform. We're now on video. Yeah, it's an
Yeah, we're going
experiment
full
trying.
bore. We're going full out on this thing.
So if you're watching on video, here's the Twitter book that I'm giving to Larry.
Yeah, thank you. Oh, Vic, I'll cherish this really for the rest of my life and everything. I
love you,
can't
Larry.
wait. I'm going to become a Twitter expert.
And then you're going to hold me accountable for tweeting as well.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
If you ever want to reach out to us on Twitter, on the tweet machine, use the hashtag AskAgileCoffee, and we'll be sure to look at it and potentially, include your
Yeah.
topic in with our topics as well.
It's a great idea.
Happy to do that. Before we jump into episode 64 here, Larry, a couple of things. So we have the Agile Open San Diego coming up.
Yep, we sure do.
The Agile Open San Diego is in San Diego at Marina Village on March 11th.
Yes.
11th is a games day, so it's the 12th and 13th.
Yep, that's when the event occurs.
So the Agile Open Space is on the 12th and 13th, a Thursday, Friday. The day before, on Wednesday, at the same location, we have Agile Games Day. That's the 11th of March.
Yeah, that's turning out to be a pretty good event. We've got some great speakers.
Yeah, Paul Winey is.
Paul's doing a great job setting that up.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I'll be there. You'll be there. We'll be trying games and sharing games that we can use with our teams, whether they're Scrum teams or not. And then this is great. Stick around for after the open space.
Oh yeah, this is important.
We have a training from the back of the room. Tickets are on sale. They're starting to fill up, which is exciting to me. That's the 14th and 15th of March. It is Saturday and Sunday,
Yeah, it's a
also at the
weekend.
same location.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. It's gonna. I was there a couple years ago. I took your course.
Yeah.
It was great.
Had a fun time with you in the class. I know we had a few people from the community in that class, and this one's going to be the same.
Yeah.
People that we know in our community are going to be there. If you're looking for a discount code for the TBR class, training from the back of the room, you can use ACP20. Stands for Agile Coffee Podcast 20. ACP20, and that'll get you 20% off of the ticket price for the TBR class down in San Diego. So you can find out more information by going to rocket9solutions.com, and you can find the training for the back of the room class. If you want to find more about the Agile Open San Diego, you can Google that,
Yep.
and it'll bring you right to the page. You'll see Larry's face there.
Probably, yeah.
Maybe.
Gee, I need to get a new picture or something.
You and me both. You'll see my picture. I'm holding space there again. Looking forward to seeing everyone. Also coming up, we have also in March. Actually, it's the week before. We have the CSP SM class. That's the Certified Scrum Practitioner Scrum Master class. It's Rocket 9 Solutions hosting it. We're hosting Angela Johnson.
Yeah, she's great.
Yeah, so we know Angela. She's coming in from the Midwest, which is a great time of the year to come out to Southern California.
Absolutely. We're rescuing her.
Oh, CSP stands for Certified Scrum Professional.
Yes.
I said practitioner, but hope they don't ding me on that. Scrum Alliance, you got to watch out for those guys. So happy to have Angela Johnson coming down in March also to do the CSP Scrum Master course here in Orange County. Another shout out, hello Nashville.
Yeah, hello Nashville.
So we've got Scott Dunn has been in Nashville now for a few months. He's got his own meetup going there.
Yep.
It's the Agile Leadership meetup. It's a lean
Yes.
coffee type thing.
Yep, exactly.
Have you been out there yet?
No, I haven't, but you know what I'm actually waiting for?
What's that?
I'm waiting for Scott to start his own band.
Oh, in
You
Nashville.
don't go to Music City and not start a band. It's kind of like the Scrummers or something. I have no
Does
idea.
he play guitar or ukulele or
Something.
banjo?
I'm sure you can learn. I'm sure you can learn.
That's great. And then we'll go out there and join him. We'll be his backup band. He could take lead. So hello, Nashville. So if you're watching, if you're listening, welcome aboard. Get to know Scott. Scott's a great guy. You can look
Yeah.
up his meetup on the meetup.com website. Type in Agile Leadership, Nashville, and Scott will pop up there. One last class that we'd like to mention. In our episode 63, the last podcast episode, we talked about Kanban with Van Ray. His course is still listed, so you can go to Rocket9 Solutions/Kanban and find out more about the upcoming TKP, that's Team Kanban Practitioner, on February 27th. And that's also in Orange County here.
Yeah, that's a great course. I'd encourage everyone to go to that. That is a passionate Agile professional. Mm-hmm. It's just another good framework to have in your bag of tricks.
I'm planning to be there as well. I learned a lot from the podcast, but I figured,
Yeah.
How many days is this? Is it a one-day class?
I believe so. Yeah, it is a one-day class.
So getting there, spending an 8 hours as opposed to 40 minutes in a podcast, I'm going to pick up a lot more. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And Van does a great job. He's informed, passionate. He's really worked this through well.
Absolutely. So we've got some cards on the table, but we have to throw our dots on there. In the meantime, let's hear the opening song.
Coffee. Coffee. Coffee.
All right, so we have voted, and with just two of us,
Yeah, that was really hard.
It was, wasn't it?
Oh man.
We'll probably get to all these anyway. The first one that we have up here is TBR for Scrum Masters. Training from the back of the room for Scrum Masters. So when we were sitting around, we said we've got to talk about training for the back of the room.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? You wrote a blog post, so I kind of want to start by asking if there's anything that you wanted to say in your blog post that you didn't, but maybe let's take a step back and talk about what was in your blog post.
Yeah, absolutely.
Getting beyond boredom, how to
Yes.
use TBR to become a better trainer, I think was the gist of your blog
or a
post.
better Scrum Master.
Yeah.
The idea, and that's how I took the stuff from the takeaway from your class was I took these creative ways of interacting, making collective decisions. The team is self-organized, so the team has to arrive at an agreement on a slew of things.
Yep.
And so you could do the old Larry way of, okay, let's do fist of five on this one, fist of five on that one, and you go, well, we need to talk about that a little bit more, and it's just, So here you've got a whole bunch of tools, and I like the class because you gave us books, and so we have plenty of stuff to choose from, and on how to facilitate a meeting with your team to help them arrive at decisions. But not only that, but the richness of the conversation is pulled deeper when you do exercises, because it's all about how you think as an individual, how Homo sapiens think.
Right, yeah. Yeah, so I love Sharon Bowman's curriculum, how she put it together. She'd written a number of books before she came up with the class itself. So you can find her as an author on Amazon or wherever you look for books and see she's written a number of books. But the two that you mentioned, the one actually is kind of the gold standard. It goes along with the class. It's Training from the Back of the Room. And then she's got another one. When you come to the class, you get the Brain Habits book as well.
That's a good
which
one.
is wonderful. And then you get the workbook that goes with it too. I'm staring off camera. I've got a pile of books over there. But in addition to her two books there, I've got other resources that she's either written and highlighted, or she's said, go out and find other resources. So I've got some of those that I use whenever I prepare for any kind of an event, whether it's working as a Scrum Master or starting a new training course or doing a talk in the community.
Yeah, exactly.
Always trying to find ways to bring the audience in, right?
Yeah, and have them do the thought work.
Yes.
You put the subject out there, and then they have to self-organize around the topic to come up with a solution that's meaningful to them.
And that turns the whole pyramid upside down, the
Exactly.
pyramid of training and teaching.
Yeah.
It used to be one person in the front of the room, as you said, kind of the sage on the stage model, where they're just doing all of the talking and occasionally answering a question, and everyone else in the audience is just listening and writing down notes. And now, like you said, we're relying on the wisdom of the crowd, knowing that the person in front of the stage might have a lot of answers, but certainly not all the answers.
Yes.
And it's better if adults are learning from each other. And you could use this to, I'm sure, any age you want, but specifically Sharon talks about adult learning, adult education.
You know, the thing that I like about this too is that if I come up with an idea, or my group at the table comes up with an idea, we own that idea.
Yes.
And it's not like I'm up there trying to lecture a bunch of people, convincing them that I have a good idea.
Right.
Where they at the table come up with the idea and they own it.
Yeah.
And then they're preaching it back to me. I love that. I love that part where you wanted to say something, so you threw it out there, the table worked it over, and they came to say a similar conclusion, and then they're teaching it back to you going, oh, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you could give them all the credit because they're getting the credit
and
for
they've
it.
done the work.
But you know that as a facilitator or a trainer with these techniques, that maybe they wouldn't have come to those conclusions without that bit of kind of thought that you've put into how to cover the content there. You know, you had said, and it reminded me of a phrase from Craig Larman, who says, you own it, you don't rent it.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
And that is so important.
Because if they're renting it, they're just giving it back to you at the end of the day. They're checked out, right? But they're owning it, so they want to keep it maintained.
It fits into our whole transformation thing, too. You don't want people... We're not in this business just to fill people's heads full of information so they can go back to their work and business as usual then or something. No, we want to transform the way people work. We want to transform teams. We want to transform how people think about what they do and their unleash that creative ability of your team. And this is what it takes to do that.
Absolutely. So if I was a Scrum Master and I'm working with my team, let's say I've got a standard 2-week sprint, so I've got my sprint planning meeting, I've got my review and my retrospective and the daily Scrum every day. When I'm thinking about TBR, inserting that into being a Scrum Master, I'm thinking in terms of what are the kind of the touch points, the big events.
Yeah.
But are there other ways that you can use TBR practices? So I'm trying to think, as a Scrum Master, where would TBR come in? Where would some of these, what's an example of an exercise or a way of kind of addressing the facilitation that I might normally do?
I think the retrospective lends itself very nice to this. It'd be anything, though. If you're trying to do backlog refinement and work out a difficult technical solution, it would work as well. But I think it's an easy one to talk about. The retrospective is an easy one to talk about, where you've got, as a Scrum Master, and this is where I think it's great, right? As a Scrum Master, you've got the numbers in front of you. You know where the team's at. You've seen, if you've gone through your reports that you're creating and you see your dashboards you've created, messages start to emerge, like, oh, gee, we have a problem here. Look at your diagrams here. You've got a cluster of tasks that are way above your average. So what does that mean? That you look into that as a Scrum Master, you go, wow, we had trouble with this, and this. How do you bring this up to the team?
Yeah.
Because
in a way that they'll...
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
because I'm going to go and say, okay, guys, listen. According to the report here, we are really we took a hit on that cluster of stories. What was the problem? How about if we just asked them to think it over?
Yeah.
And have them come up with the fact that, ooh, that was really bad. Let's see, let's work that through.
Great.
And it's no longer me trying to encourage them to improve. It's them encouraging each other to improve.
Great. So your example is specific at a retrospective, instead of just the Scrum Master telling the team,
Yes.
my observations, here's how I would improve, do this.
Yep.
But rather say, hey guys, here's some data that I collected.
What do you think?
What do you think about it?
Exactly.
Oh, great. From that data story that we're telling, what's something that we'd like to do to get better?
Yeah, what does this mean to us as a team? Why did that happen? How could we avoid it? What do you think, guys?
Yeah, great.
And then you can come up with your little exercises and all kinds of interesting interaction again, and they'll own the solution.
I love it. So you started off with retrospectives, which is an obvious choice. It's a really good starting point if you're new to TBR. Start slipping it into your sprint retrospectives, because as Scrum Master, that's kind of your platform where you
Yes.
want to see the team
exactly.
improve. But as you also indicated, you could put this in other places. For example, whether it's backlog refinement or sprint planning.
Oh, yeah.
You could make things more visual. You know, Sharon did a really great job. She identified 6 areas that you can focus on to make any presentation better. She called them her 6 trumps.
Yeah.
And in it, it's speaking trumps listening. So if you can get people to speak, that's better than them just listening. Movement trumps sitting down. So in your activities, you can have people stand up and move around the room to do dot voting or something like that, right? Different trumps same. So when I hear that one, I'm thinking, you know, every day for the daily Scrum, for example, try to do something different every day, and so we're not falling into the same patterns, the same kind of rote kind of schedule. When we do our daily Scrum, we're doing the same thing all the time. Because then people start to check out. They get on autopilot.
They get into this routine where this is just a status meeting, and I'm not listening to really anything that's going on. I'm not engaged. I'm just, okay, 15 minutes, hey, we're done, let's go. No, man, you have to engage in that because there's stuff happening in that daily stand-up that you need to be listening to. There's possibly a problem that's going to pop up, and it wouldn't even be named or listed as a problem when the update comes, but once he says it or she says it, you go, whoa, hey, just a second, if you're going to change that, that means I got to change something else. Oh, let's do a parking lot item on that.
Yeah, great point. Pictures trump words, or drawings trump visual text. So again, when you're talking about a sprint goal, or maybe doing a retrospective on the sprint, you can use visual metaphors, things like that, to help people align.
Yep.
Right.
I like the idea of the sprint goal. Oftentimes, teams will take a look at the sprint goal and they go, oh, well, ho-hum. And is it there or not? Your sprint goal should be so clear that you can ask anybody on that team at any time during the sprint, what is your goal? And they'll know the answer right off the bat. If your team isn't able to do that, then maybe as a Scrum Master, you should employ some of the things that you get in the training of the back of the room, so the team really owns that sprint goal. It's not just something that you mentally assent to because, I don't know, maybe the Scrum Master or somebody brought it up. No, you own that thing.
Yeah, great. How about you out in our audience? If you can think of other examples of how to use these kind of adult learning principles when you're acting as a Scrum Master or an Agile coach with your teams or with individuals in the workplace, what are some things that you'd recommend? Use the hashtag AskAgileCoffee and start a conversation. Let us know.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Let's see. So, any other thoughts? Any other thoughts, Larry, on training from the back of the room for Scrum Masters?
I think we've got it.
Sounds good to me. Our next topic, Scott Dunn created this topic for us, but he's not here to participate. So, Scott, if you're out there, chime in. You can talk along to the podcast with us, right? But this has to do with a blog post that he wrote about a month or so ago, and it's called The Top 10 Assumptions of Agile, or about Agile. So he wrote a blog post, and as is indicated by the title, there's some assumptions about Agile. And he listed 10 of them.
Yeah, some of these are really good. I like the first one because it's so, like, everywhere you go, you hear this, right?
Agile is Scrum. Yeah.
Scrum is Agile. Agile is Scrum.
Yeah.
You go, well, hey, just a second. We got to talk about frameworks here. What's a framework?
Yeah.
So the Agile, I like this. Oftentimes you hear the Agile method. Okay, fine. That's already something that is interesting. So keep listening, and they're trying to explain to you Scrum. And you think, well, there's a lot more under the hood here than just Scrum.
Right. In Agile, you have a Scrum Master and a product owner.
Yeah, exactly.
What? Really? Do you? Because that's so.
So as a Scrum Master and or coaches, or however we interact with our organizations, we have to help them see that there's a lot more to Agile than just Scrum. Scrum is a framework. Great. What does that mean? Okay, great. But what else are there? Oh, there's XP.
Yeah.
Whoa. There's Kanban is a great one, or I see here less safe. These are all things that are very important.
Yeah, so he rolls from number 1, Agile is Scrum, into number 2, you must use Scrum, and I think you're covering it there.
Yeah.
One that I saw that popped out to me, he says it's an assumption that safe is evil.
Yeah, no, that's a really interesting
And
one.
for me, I mean, I follow that assumption all the time. You know me, I'm like, a safe? Ugh.
I'd rather not.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've got more to learn. I just haven't learned about safe. I haven't practiced. I've learned about less. I've learned about Scrum at scale, but every time it feels like every time I talk to someone about safe, they don't feel satisfied with it yet, or they've worked with safe in the past and it hasn't clicked. Now, some people say that safe is just fine. I just don't hang out in those circles yet, maybe.
Yeah, exactly.
Have you used safe or worked with people?
I've worked with a company that used SAFE. It was a voluntary thing. You could either, if you were going to do a work with an Agile framework, then SAFE was the framework that you would be working with.
Great.
And so I took their whole course because they changed it a bit to fit their company, and it worked for them. I have to say that it's big and it's bulky, but this was a big, bulky company, and they felt comfortable at the speed in which new ideas introduced into the system all the way down. It works its way through the layers and comes out in an increment of value at the end. And those feedback loops were fine for them. The way things were defined and discussed and architected was fine for them, and it worked well for that company.
Right.
I think if you were to have a smaller company, those layers probably wouldn't work. I understand that there's a safe light.
Yeah.
And that does accommodate some of that need, but maybe tighter feedback loops and emphasizing a clear vision at the beginning and maintaining that vision where everybody knows it off the top of their head might be a little more valuable to a smaller company.
So in the blog post here, I've read Scott is saying, there's a lot of resistance to SAFE, as you're mentioning here. But he says that one thing that SAFE does well is it gets all the leaders on the same page.
That's true.
In the beginning. It has them go through a training. It has them start focusing on what is the WIP, the work in progress of the business initiatives. So if they can start thinking of limiting those, that's going to go a long way to kind of giving focus to the transformation.
Yeah, right? I have to agree with that. This is, however, Scrum at Scale also has an executive action team, which is something similar.
Right.
Where SAFE wants you to set that up, and through training, you hope that the executives get the vision. Mm-hmm. Scrum at Scale, you're actually engaged every day for 15 minutes doing your daily stand-up. And you're managing those blockers that the teams can't resolve themselves, the team or the scrum of scrums, and it works its way up, and within an hour a problem can potentially be resolved. Mm-hmm. Now I'm not saying that that's not possible in SAFE, but Scrum at Scale puts a huge emphasis on you're meeting every day for 15 minutes to resolve problems. Mm-hmm. And so then that's your responsibility, and you do that. Now I'm not saying you can't do that with this executive team at SAFE. I see SAFE, they're kind of steering the whole thing. True,
right.
Very important. But you do have to have also those group of people that are engaged in what's your problem today? I'll take care of that.
Yeah. This is really good stuff. I want to skip ahead because he's got 10 of them on here. He talks about, an assumption being that you only need to train the Scrum Master.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
No one else needs to be trained.
Yes.
And we just said when we talked about SAFE, hey, think of leadership being trained because that helps. But
that's important.
But other people on the Scrum team, I think, might appreciate the training as well. And the team itself and the organization probably wants to have people aligned. So
yeah.
But number 6, he says that all Scrum training is the same as an assumption. Are we assuming that all Scrum training is the same?
That's interesting. I was just thinking of that, actually, as you brought up this subject. Is, a lot of times companies send everybody to certified Scrum Master training. Yeah. And the team's not going to use that.
Right.
Is that really the best value that you can get out of that? So, of course, there is the Scrum Foundations or Agile 101, depends on the company and if they're certified to teach it or not. But the whole point is, let's get everybody on the same page. I hear that a lot from clients, and that's a great idea. We've got one that works really well for us as a consulting company. We got some great responses from it. That's good. But an Agile 101 doesn't go deep enough.
Yeah.
Especially when you're talking about your dev team. Scrum Master certification isn't going to help your dev team.
Yep.
They'll get some ideas. But if all you want to do is get everybody on the same page, an Agile 101 is great.
Right.
But here's the thing that really motivates me to go a little deeper with this, is that the Certified Scrum developer course. And it doesn't matter. If certifications aren't important,
I love that
that's not
course,
important. But what is important, that your team knows how to work through these technical issues.
Yeah.
And that's where the Certified Scrum Developer really comes in handy. Where you get a lot of bang for your buck.
I sat in with Paul Moore and Cody, and Paul and Cody offer the CSD through Rocket 9 too, but just their experience and Paul's known people in the XP world for
Forever.
15 years or more, right? Yeah, probably more. And so Paul and Cody together, they walk through test-driven development. They walk through a lot of different backgrounds on why we do things, why developers need to do and think of things the way that they do, and it's illuminating. It's eye-opening for even me as a Scrum Master or a coach to sit down there and work through with them. Are there any other assumptions here that you wanted to call out? Because I don't want to read the whole blog post. I want viewers and listeners to go here and read.
Yeah. Well, the DevOps thing has been something on my mind a lot,
Yep.
And it is more than just about tooling. It's this interaction between your dev team and the people who are going to maintain that. Of course, Les would say you own that. You have feature teams, which basically are product teams, and they take that product and they take care of it from the time you create it to the time it's deployed, and then beyond that until the end of that product.
Right.
So that's a great idea, but if that doesn't always work for you, DevOps is great, but the whole point is it's not just about tooling. It's that interaction, I believe, that's super important.
Right. That's good. I saw one that reminded me too that requirements. The assumption says all requirements must be in user story format.
Oh yeah.
And again,
that's a good one. Yeah.
Big old assumption. In fact, Scrum doesn't talk about needing to follow the user story format at all. That came from XP. A lot of people didn't know that, but yeah, I agree. I don't think that it needs to be in any specific format as long as there's a conversation about it. And people know that whatever is written on the card, whether it's a physical card or a virtual card, that they can have those conversations with their product owner or whoever is the voice of the customer at any time during the development process.
Yeah, that's really good. I notice a lot of times teams get, especially when they're new, they'll get hung up on form.
Yep.
And it's not the form, it's the conversation that we need to have. Do I understand what the customer wants? Do I understand what the product owner wants? If I do, then let's get going on it.
Yeah, don't think you have to be perfect on any one form or even any one aspect about whatever it is you're trying. Always try something, inspect and adapt.
Exactly.
Iterate on it, see if it can be better next time.
Yeah. And a lot of times our forms keep us from that emphasis on inspection and adaptation, and we definitely don't want to see that happen.
Yep. So Scott's got a few other points on here. You can't switch approaches is another assumption. It's an IT thing, and leadership doesn't have to be involved is an assumption. So go ahead to the blog at rocket9solutions.com, and you'll find all the blog posts together. And this one was in early December when Scott wrote this.
Yeah, top 10 assumptions about Agile.
And leave some comments. You can leave comments there on the post or engage Scott there on the Twitter machine and see if you disagree or you want to add some assumptions to it, right?
Yeah, it'd be interesting. If you disagree, that'd be love to hear about that.
Yeah. All right, Larry. Next topic. Wow, we're flying through these topics. 21st century management.
21st century management. See, I have my iPad here because I have some notes here I wanted to kick this one off on. Over the weekend, I heard or saw an interesting video from Simon Sinek on most leaders don't even know the game they're in. And that really got me thinking. And he says basically, and I would encourage it's 18 minutes, so I'd encourage people to go ahead and see that. But he says basically, you have a CEO that says, when you ask them, what is your main responsibility? My main responsibility is to the client. Great, our customer. Then the question is, well, when's the last time you talked with a customer? Oh, about 30 years ago. So that means it's not your main emphasis. So what is that? Well, it isn't to enable the people who are enabling the people. So if you're a CEO, you've got this middle management layer. Fine, enable those middle managers to be the best middle managers possible. Now, what does that mean for a middle manager? Now, it's interesting too, and he talks about this also, that you're a middle manager because, well, you were probably pretty good at whatever you were doing.
Yeah.
And then you got promoted, and you might even know how to do things better than those that you manage. But it's not your responsibility to tell them how.
Yeah.
It's your responsibility to enable an environment for them to do that. So you would become an enabler instead of a manager. And that's a tough one.
Yeah.
But I believe very strongly that this is 21st century management. If you want to get more engagement out of your teams, if you want to get more creativity out of your teams, and most importantly, if you want to be an innovative company, you have to engage people. You have to engage your teams by enabling them.
Yeah, I agree. And as you're saying that, and I'm not sure I've seen that video of Simon Sinek's, but we'll have a link to it in our show notes at agilecoffee.com/episode 64. But it's reminding me a lot of what I've seen from a lot of the Cal work that we've done.
That's a good one.
And
That's very good.
especially there's the book Leadership Agility, which has the pattern of expert, achiever, and catalyst as different types of leaders.
This
And I've
is
got it
great.
on my wall. I'm pointing to it
I
there.
saw that. Yes.
But your expert is the person who, like you said, is really good at something. They were like a very good software developer, for example, or maybe they're very good at doing sales or whatever it might be in the organization. So good that they were recognized for it and then yanked out of that position.
Exactly. And then all of a sudden,
made into a leader,
Yeah,
a manager of sorts. And so their first inclination is to continue doing what they've always been good at. Well, I'm a manager, so I'll just do it for you. I'll just show you how to do it. Now that doesn't scale, and you want to grow people.
Absolutely.
So we say to go from, and this is Bill Joyner's theory here. You go from expert to achiever. So now you're leading people instead of doing it. You're using the leadership model. You're leading people through. You're taking the hill together. But again, you're still involved in some aspect of how it gets done.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? And what leadership agility says is to think of yourself in that third stage, which is the catalytic leader, where you're inspiring. You're setting the environment for people to find their own path to doing it. You're setting a goal for them, but not necessarily all the steps that they need to take their goal.
Yeah.
And you're there as a sounding board to give advice, to clear obstacles out of the way.
Yes.
Everything that a 21st century manager needs to have in their toolkit. But they're not necessarily telling people how to do the job.
Exactly, yeah. I love that. And I believe, like I said, this is very, very important. I read something. It was a story in the book here from Radical Candor, from Kim Scott.
Okay.
And it spoke to me so deeply, I had tears in my eyes as I was listening to it. I thought,
yeah.
whoa, are you kidding me? So she talks about if NUMMI, it was this cooperation between Toyota and GM. And it was a GM plant before then. And then she goes into some detail about what those workers were like in the GM days. They came to work drunk, and they would put, one guy would put vodka or something, a bottle of it, in the car door, and it would kind of advance on, and everybody drank from it as it went along. And sometimes they would sabotage the quality of the cars just because they were so frustrated.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the traditional management response to that is, oh, you guys are lazy, irresponsible. And then you go all the way back to the Taylorism thing. Well, we're hiring you from the neck down, and it doesn't matter. Do what we say. Yeah. And then on the other hand, the message is, well, we really value your input. So what do you think? And so the idea was, and this person talked about his frustration. He gave very clearly some improvement recommendations to management, and they totally ignored him.
Yeah.
So he checked out.
Right.
And so that plant didn't work very well, and so Toyota comes in with GM, and they sit down with the very same person, and they ask him about he's prepared to be engaged, and he just let loose and said, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's engaged as I want to be. No one's going to listen to me anyhow.
Right.
And then they hired him. They said, the reason we hired you is because you were so candid about that.
Oh,
and then this is where it really got me. That same guy was on the assembly line when Toyota, the CEO of Toyota, was there, along with all the other managers, and they're watching the line. They're doing their Gemba walk. and he had trouble getting the light in. And he goes, and then Toyota says, pull the undone cord. Pull the cord. No, I got this. He goes, pull the cord.
Yeah.
No, I got this. I don't have to stop. Because stopping the line in the GM days was like, you never wanted to do that.
Right.
And of course, they played against it. But the whole point was, he says, pull the cord. Second time. No, I got this. He tells him 4 times.
Yeah.
And then on the 5th time, he takes the guy's hand, puts it on the cord, and he pulls it down himself.
Yeah.
And stops the line. Then the guy, you're under enormous pressure, right? You got all these managers there.
Yeah.
You got the CEO of Toyota there.
Yeah.
Okay, he stops the line, fixes the light, gets it in there, and it goes on. And then this is what really spoke to me. And this is 21st century. Okay, I'm on my little soapbox.
This is great.
This is 21st century management. Toyota bows to him and he apologizes. He says, I have to ask your forgiveness for not making it clear to the managers the importance of pulling the cord. I'll fix that. And I'll make sure they understand that.
Yeah.
He's apologizing to this man for not training the middle managers properly to help this man pull the cord.
Yeah.
And he fixed it. They were pulling the cord. And then she goes on and talks about how often the cord got pulled. Mm-hmm. But that is 21st century management. So if you can envision yourself in that environment, that's the kind of manager you have to be competitive in the 21st century. Because you need to get the best out of your people.
So is that, do you remember, was that in her book? Or was that in her podcast? Or where did
that was in her book.
Okay. And
I believe the name of the book is
Radical Candor.
Radical Candor.
And the author?
Kim Scott.
Kim Scott. And there has been a podcast for it too. I'm not sure if they're still actively recording episodes. Last I checked, it was maybe a couple years old. But I've listened to a few of those episodes too, and they're great. They're worth listening to. Now I want to get the book.
Yeah, it's a great book. She's very candid about how managers and leaders should lead, and she talks about some very difficult things: how to lay people off.
Yeah.
What kind of conversations you have before and afterwards.
As I recall, she was a keynote speaker at the Agile 2016, Agile 2015? I think the closing keynote speaker. Wow. One of those years we had Kim Scott in there. So that's great. And this is such a great topic, and I'd like to talk to you more about how you introduce this topic when you're coaching clients, when you're working with clients, because obviously it's great to tell these stories to the teams you're working with, but it's like just reinforcing the lesson. It's like, well, I'm going to be as engaged as I want to because it's not going anywhere. You as a coach, you're not talking to the right person. You need to get that understanding, that magic of the Candor to the people who need to train the managers, which is the leaders and executives in an organization. So how do you do that? I'm wondering, instead of just like giving them a book and telling them to read it.
Exactly. And that's not going to work.
Right?
It goes back to the whole training from the back of the room thing. Somehow, Vic, and I haven't cracked this, and I'm kind of frustrated about it. But somehow, Vic, you've got to get them to own it, to come to realization that this is 21st century management. This is how I manage today. This is how I help my company succeed. This is how we create value for our customers. Somehow, through a series of exercises, I'm not sure, but they have to middle managers have to come to the conclusion themselves, this is how I'm going to manage. And of course then, and we've seen this, as we've done some pair coaching, and you know this too, a lot of times from our clients, the chief executives would say, just do an agile thing. I don't care what it is. So whatever's successful, just do it. So they're not engaged. So the middle managers aren't engaged, but you're working with the teams at the lower levels, and they want to be engaged. So then you talk about 21st century management. Even with the managers, they'll go, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to be told tomorrow to do something totally different.
Sure.
So somehow you've got it, and I keep saying somehow.
Yeah.
We got to crack this thing.
And that's why I love working with Rocket 9, because we've been talking about how we start engagements, how we talk with leaderships, how we work through models like the ADCAR model. Where's the awareness? Where's the desire amongst leadership? And we also offer these leadership classes in the form of the Cal 1 class or maybe other classes that we've got cooking, where, again, we talk to leaders about the importance of change, how you can manage that change. We talk about the 21st century management principles. We talk about culture models. What's the culture of
that's a
your
good one, too.
organization?
Yeah.
And there's so much more. And then by the time they leave this 2-day class or whatever engagement we have with them to get them fired up, we want to see that they're sufficiently, have that desire like sufficiently built so that it will carry over into the organization.
Yeah, exactly.
My uncle always used to say, he was an insurance salesman, but he always used to say, in order for the client to be lukewarm, I have to be red hot. So I mean, I think that's the same thing. We want to get that desire like so built up in whoever it is, you know, the leaders or whoever it is we're working with, so that by the time they bring the message back to wherever they're going, the workplace, organization, community, whatever it is, that they could get their people also lukewarm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. You mentioned TBR too, and as you did that, my mind started thinking about what do I do now when I'm having interactions with these leaders so that they're learning it themselves.
Yeah.
I'm not teaching
And they're
it.
taking ownership of it.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. I'm going to continue thinking about that.
You know what, Vic? I tell you what. Let's
What's
work
that?
this over, write our own book on it, and get famous and stuff.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah.
Larry and Vic book. Sorry, Scott. What might be our last topic here tonight, today here at Agile Coffee is what does bringing humanity to the workplace mean to you? Bringing humanity to the workplace is Rocket Nine's kind of slogan.
It's our value.
Right.
It's when we're that's part of our elevator speech.
Yeah.
Our elevator pitch. Our value at Rocket Nine, what we value, the thing that we really gets us up in the morning and gets us to our clients energized, is bringing humanity to the workplace.
And again, going back to what you just said, you were talking about the example from Kim Scott's Radical Candor book of a GM worker who was just like, I'm hired from the neck down. They don't care what I say.
Yeah.
So there's no humanity in a job like that. They're just being told what to do, and they're being criticized for doing what they're being told what to do, what they're being told to do. So I've seen cases like that when I've worked with IT groups, software groups, or people in kind of ancillary kind of divisions to that, organizational groups, where people are just told what to do all the time, and it doesn't feel like a good shop to be in.
Exactly.
You know, and maybe there's whether you have a death march going on or not, you know, still you've got this kind of the life force, the fun is
Exactly.
sucked out
The
of
fun
the,
is sucked out of
yeah.
it. That's a really good way of putting it. I think I'm often reminded of back in the days when I did a traditional project management. It wasn't uncommon for a manager to say, to be yelling, not so much yelling, but venting his frustrations at the team, saying, "What's the matter? Do I have to do all this work for you?
Yeah.
Aren't you basically what he was saying is, aren't you smart enough to do this on your own?
Yeah.
Do I have to tell you what to do? No, you don't. That's the idea. But the whole point is you've so reduced their humanity, you've so reduced their motivation to work that, okay, yeah, tell me what to do. Because last time I tried to do something on my own, it was the wrong thing anyhow, so now you take responsibility for it.
Yeah.
And there's this never-ending circle.
Yeah, well, going back to the last topic when we talked about the expert and achiever level, again, of joiners' leadership agility. An expert is someone who is really good at doing something, and then they became a manager, and they might not have learned how to be a manager.
Yeah,
so they're
exactly.
just telling people, well, do it like this. Like, I told you to do it. Like, I would have done it that way too, and it's not working for the other person. The other person needs to figure out their own way of getting it done.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's the mismatch there. So how do we, as Rocket 9, bring that humanity back into the office?
I'd like to think that it's the whole idea of these the conversation, kind of a summary of almost everything we've talked about so far today is training from the back room. Those ideas, get people, get the team, get the individuals to own the solution.
Yeah.
That's one way of doing it.
And then coaching from the back of the room.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's kind of what a coach is. A coach isn't in your face telling people how to do things, but rather it starts from curiosity, being curious about your client, the person you're talking to, the team you're working with. What is it that they're trying to solve? What's the problem that they're in? What's the goal they're trying to achieve?
Exactly.
And just asking those open-ended questions. Right?
Yeah, and helping them having them establish their goals, and you help them accomplish those goals. That's
So
how
you're
that works.
talking about then being a listener.
Yes.
So first of all, you're bringing humanity back to the workplace by just simply listening to people.
Yeah, and asking good questions.
Okay.
What is it? I think it's the Collaborative Coaching Institute or something. They have a list of powerful questions.
Yep.
And one coach that I was working with recently took the list of those questions and embossed them and gave them out to all the coaches. So we have them right here. She said she used them in her conversation with her daughter to help her daughter figure out what's the next steps in her life. She goes, "Mom, you're so smart."
There you go. So Allison Pollard from
yes.
Improving also took a number of questions and made a little card deck.
These are great.
Whose opinion matters on this topic?
Yeah.
Wow. Asking a team member whose opinion matters, that's going to give you so much data.
Oh, boy.
So you'll know who to talk to also,
Yes.
but also you can have them start a conversation. They might not really think that everyone's opinion matters. Maybe they think, oh yeah, only maybe one or two people's opinion
Yeah, exactly. And
matters.
that's what you get that a lot
So you
of times.
eliminate some assumptions
Yeah.
right there. Who wants you to succeed? What will you get?
Yeah, that's a good one too.
What will you get? Or what? Yeah.
What's stopping you? That's great, you know.
Yeah, it's great.
What's stopping you? You want to do this and this? You want to decide to do that? What's stopping you? Go do it.
Yeah. So listening to people
Yeah.
asking questions is one means of bringing humanity to the workplace.
Yeah, this is great.
Listening, asking these open-ended questions, and then just being very empathetic to
Yeah,
them too.
absolutely. Yeah, enabling people's success. That's what this is all about. Enabling individual success, team success, and ultimately enabling our clients for success.
A lot of times I work with teams, they don't know how to run a meeting. And I'm not saying
Oh, yeah,
like
that's a good one.
just a typical Scrum meeting, but any type of meeting. So if you show them just how to effectively plan for a meeting and run a meeting
Yep.
and have the right people there and not invite everyone, I think soon they'll see the importance of a facilitator or
Yeah.
facilitation skills.
Yeah.
And that helps bring humanity back to the job too, is by having good facilitators, whether it's coaches who are on site or
Yeah.
the Scrum Masters or really anybody else who's got those capabilities, and you've seen them kind of emerge from the team.
And helping others become good facilitators.
Yeah.
Not to demonstrate yourself,
Right.
and encourage others to step into that role.
So we as coaches would come in and model some of
Yes,
these
absolutely.
these activities
Yeah.
and even our reactions to things like conflict. When
Oh, that's a
we're
good one. Yeah.
when we're in a room and there's people, the tension might be getting high, and you can see people kind of taking snipes at each other,
Yeah.
giving each other the stink eye. You know, as coaches, we don't want to get trapped into the emotion of the moment.
Yeah, exactly. And, stay back, give us a safe place, share what you think, and then come up with solutions at work.
Yeah.
Have them come up with solutions at work.
There's any number of ways then to take it from here. It really is up to what the organization needs, what the team's
Yeah.
desire is. But I think it all goes back to being that servant leader, listening, asking questions,
Yep.
modeling correct behaviors, modeling kind of how to run activities, things like that is a great
Yep.
way to start.
Yep, I like this. And this is actually, to be honest with you, why I love working with Rocket 9. I don't want to, toot our own horn or something, but we really take that serious.
Toot
Bring
away.
humanity-
Yeah. That's what
bring
people
humanity
love
to the
about
workplace.
us.
And I think,
you know?
I go, I love this team. I love working with this team. I love working together. The synergy we have is great. It's amazing too, but it's the idea is that we really have this value that we hold dear, and we want to bring this to our clients. And it works.
Yeah, and likewise, I mean, coaches that I know that aren't with Rocket 9 that I know and respect, yeah, they're like this too. So I'm not just here plugging for Rocket 9, but a good coach, someone who kind of encapsulates that
Yes,
idea
exactly.
of we're all people together,
Yeah.
we're all trying to improve the way we work and bring humanity back to the workplace. It's so important, so kind of foundational to like getting
Yes, it
things
is.
right.
Yeah.
You can maybe make small improvements here and there, but until you look at people across the desk from you or across the aisle from you
That's
and
good.
know that they're
good.
people too,
Yes,
or
absolutely.
even better, remote
Oh
teams,
yeah. This is a good challenge, but it
you
works.
know,
Yeah.
challenge yourself to bring humanity back to the workplace of the remote workplace,
Yeah.
because that's really hard. That could be another topic altogether.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, but like you, I love my clients, and that's one of the comments that I get back from clients in the middle of an engagement or at the end is like, man, you guys really take the time to get to know us and
Yep.
listen to us, and we want you back.
And we care. Yeah, I hear this a lot.
Yeah.
We sense that you guys really care.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we really do.
Well, podcast listeners, we really care about you as well. And so we'd like to, as we're wrapping this
Yeah.
up here, one more time, reach out to you and ask you what you think. Engage with Larry and myself here on Twitter by using the hashtag AskAgileCoffee. Let us know if you have any questions about any of the topics that we've shared today, or any contributions, any recommendations for future topics that you'd like to share. We'd love to bring you in and get you involved. Show notes for this episode are on the Agile Coffee website. That's agilecoffee.com/episode 64. And this is our first experiment with YouTube. So if you ended up finding us here on YouTube and you wanted to feel free to subscribe or like or give us feedback there, by all means. That's what we're looking for here too, is does the video format help us out?
Great question.
Or are you just distracted by Larry's stunning good looks?
Or Vic's amazing goatee.
Any final thoughts, Larry, before we get out of here?
No, I just the fact that I'm very motivated by the idea that we can help our customers succeed. And I don't care if I'm working with Rocket9 or not. That's an agile thing that goes very deep into us all. These frameworks are there to help companies succeed. We have huge amounts of challenges today, and one of them is that we need to constantly be innovative. Yeah. And how do you do that? Through short feedback loops and all the goodness that you find in various agile frameworks. And so I love doing this stuff. I am old enough to retire, but I'm not going to do this anytime in the future because I love this so much.
Yeah. Good. And yeah, I echo exactly what you said too. Like, I've known you long before I knew what Rocket9 was, and you and I and Scott and Cliff, we saw each other in the community way before like we all got together here at Rocket9. But it's brought so much pleasure to me too, is getting to know you guys and others in our community, and then getting out and working with people in the workplace and putting this to the test and running experiments with people and having these conversations. So it's been really good. So as we wrap up, one more quick shout out to Nashville.
Yay,
hi there,
Nashville.
folks. If you're in Southern California, feel free to find Larry and I. We're out in the community, not only the things that we said at the beginning of the program, but you've got Zach does his Agile Coffee down in San Diego.
That's a great meetup.
We're known to pop in there. Paul Moore runs his Agile SoCal once a month here in Irvine. So if there's any chance that you're in the area and you want to stop by, please do. We look forward to meeting you and getting to know you better. So until next time, enjoy your coffee with friends.